Good evening, everyone. I'm Rick Walker with Maverick News and Maverick Multimedia, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hi, my name is Brenden Kennedy, the host of the Flow of Discourse podcast. Good evening, Rick. How are you?
I'm just fine, Brenden. Lots to share with folks tonight as our coverage of Freedom Convoy 2022 Cruise into the Capitol continues. All kinds of developments overnight. When last we had folks tuning in to our online broadcast, we saw the police had started to crack down on the protesters in Ottawa. They have essentially militarized their police service. They've brought in reinforcements from across Ontario, and they have taken guns to a freedom festival. So tonight we have footage to share with you. We're going to show you what police have been doing and continue to do as they ramp up their what they're calling enforcement efforts, their surge and contain strategy being deployed now. And we have commentary, we have reaction, we have a news conference with the truckers, and we have just a wide range of information to share with you because the developments are coming very quickly now.
It's going to be all downhill from here, essentially, with what we're going to get. Be a matter of time, so it's either way, like every day, this is just going to go quicker and quicker. For tomorrow's show, we'll have our boots on the ground again. Carla, she'll be back in Ottawa to give us more updates, so we'll get a better on-the-street view of what is happening.
Well, we do have clips of other people who are on the scene, videos from those folks tonight. And I think the important thing is to frame this and put some context around what is happening in Ottawa. The police chief, Ottawa's police chief, held another news conference today. And I think we should bring that up and share some of that with you, if we can, right now. I'm going to let some of this roll, and let's just hear what he had to say today. We won't run this whole thing. We're in a fair portion of it, though, so that you get some sense of what police have been up to and are continuing to try to do in Ottawa.
Tickets to those individuals who've come here, mostly in conveyances, trucks, SUVs, cars, for unlawful conduct, bylaws, provincial offenses, and criminal code offenses. We have towed vehicles and we have towed trucks. There has been a significant decrease in the amount of protesters and vehicles associated to the protesters over that time period. The large demonstration that was planned for this weekend was significantly smaller than the previous weekend. The previous weekend had 3,000 plus trucks, not counting all the other vehicles, 10 to 15,000 protesters. That took a 24/7 cycle over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This weekend, the numbers are down around 1,000 trucks, around 5,000 protesters. And while there was some activity on Saturday, there was almost no activity on Friday or on Sunday. That is in direct reaction to our stepped-up enforcement, our search and contain, and our aggressive intelligence and investigation operations that have been taking place over the last 4 days and will continue until the end of this demonstration. What particularly has occurred of a significant nature? We went after the funding. Our efforts combined with the city's efforts eliminated the GoFundMe. $10 million are no longer accessible to the demonstrators. There are other funding avenues that we continue to aggressively go after through intelligence, information, coordination with financial institutions, and all three levels of government. We will be relentless in pursuing the funding that has enabled this demonstration to continue to this point. We're going after the fuel. We're going after any vehicle conveyance, including horseback, people carrying jerry cans. We are arresting and seizing, and we are interdicting fuel going into the demonstrations. Last night was a major public order operation. We tried to end it through negotiation, as we always will do in every aspect, When that failed, we went into a public order operation. It included covert assets as well as investigation and intelligence assets. 7 people were arrested and charged criminally. Thousands of liters of propane and fuel were seized, and we took out an oil tanker and the entire footprint of the staging area at Coventry Park. That includes hot tubs and saunas and anything else that was down there. We've erected fences in that area and are going to secure that area so there are no more incursions. Over the course of the weekend, through negotiation efforts, we peacefully and fully resolved the Confederation Park encampment. No arrest, no use of force, no injuries, no deaths, no riots, no encampment in Confederation Park. It is gone. We have fenced in that area and reclaimed that territory. Expectation setting, let me be clear. Every time we knock something down, there are attempts for it to pop up in 4 or 5 other locations. We're rapidly deploying our resources whenever we get a sense of another fuel depot, another staging area, or anything else that enables the demonstration to continue. We send resources in there, we reclaim that property, and we allow ourselves to get incremental advancements towards the end of the demonstration. Over the last 4 days, in addition to those operations, they will continue on, to be clear. We've been seeking additional resources provincially and federally, and of course, municipally. We've been working very closely with City Manager Steve Kanalakis, Mayor's Office, and our board in order to seek additional funds. There is a formal request that will be sent to the Mayor's Office in the next hour, requesting a significant increase in police resources, civilian resources, as well as requests for significant increases for bylaw offenses, fines, and other enabling orders of government to allow us to more fully and effectively and quickly, as well as lawfully and safely, end this demonstration. We are turning up the heat in every way we possibly can within our operations and enforcement, as well as in our engagement of all 3 levels of government. Every available Ottawa Police Service officer has been working for the last 4 days. Let me repeat, we have canceled days off. There is nobody on a day off getting rest over the last 4 days. Some officers are on their 14th day straight of 12 hours in a row during the coldest snap in Ottawa in the last 10 years, working outside continuously. No officers are on days off. Everyone has been working. We are stretched to the limit, but we are 100% committed to using everything we have to end this demonstration. We cannot do it alone. That is why I have been advocating for all 3 levels of government to bring whatever they can bring to bear on the permanent, sustainable, lawful, safe resolution of this demonstration. The OPP, the RCMP, at least 7 different municipal police agencies have embedded their officers within our incident command structure. That has allowed us to get the relief we need to move Ottawa police officers into the aggressive mode that you have seen over the last 4 days. We need more. We are grateful for what they've provided, but we need more. We are advocating for more levels of government to do more things around provincial, interprovincial, and national strategies to address what is happening here in the nation's capital. We'll be speaking to Council within the next hour to lay out the resource requests that we asked the Mayor to send to the Provincial Solicitor General and to Public Safety Canada to significantly increase our resources so we can significantly escalate our enforcement and interdictions in and around the demonstration sites. Let me be very clear about one thing. As hard as we have worked and as much as our people are on the breaking point, the community has worked as hard or harder and are closer to their breaking point. The stories coming to me are breaking my heart. I have my own officers who live in and around those areas, and they and their children have not been able to sleep. They and their children have not been able to go to school. This is crushing for those residents and their businesses. It has to stop, and we are doing everything we can possibly do to stop it. We need more help. We're asking for that help. We're starting to receive that help, but we need more to get this done. Last but not least, I want to thank the members of this police service, every single one, civilian or sworn, frontline or executive.
Okay, so the cops are cracking down. We've seen it. It started last night. It will continue. It's been continuing through the day, and the police chief is using language that sounds very military to me. What are your thoughts, Brenden? Before we pull up the next clip here.
Well, I kind of had to say, like, oh, we took away their hot tubs. Like, isn't that kind of a stupid thing? Like, they were, oh no, we can't continue without our hot tubs. Oh me, oh my, how dare we? Also, what are your thoughts on so many levels of government getting involved in what is typically supposed to be like a one level of government issue?
I think police, and I said this before, have been politicized. Our politicians and our bureaucrats have weaponized police against a demonstration that has been, let's be honest, entirely peaceful. Even as police have been sweeping in and confiscating, or depending on your point of view, stealing fuel right from trucks and intercepting fuel and confiscating or stealing it, as well as other resources, including food, literally preventing food from getting to people, and water.
It's my understanding that some of these individuals on the ground do have children, families with them, and when you do something like that, that's not going to look good on them in the end, I don't think. I think they're making some overstepping mistakes here that are going to satisfy a lot of people in the short term, but then in the long term, we're going to see just how ugly this looks. Like, this is not going to... History is not going to look kindly on this guy looking backwards.
Well, the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms issued a statement today, and let me bring that up here. They say that what police are doing is not lawful, and I'll find the, just to bring the screenshot up. Here we go. So, the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms warns that Ottawa police would be, and are, if this is true, would be breaking the law if a police attempt to intimidate or arrest people who bring food or other supplies to truckers who are peacefully exercising their charter rights and freedoms in Ottawa. And you heard what the police chief had to say in his news conference today.
Yeah.
And in a tweet from Ottawa Police this morning, or actually it was yesterday, it states that anyone attempting to bring material supports, gasoline, food, water, etc., to the demonstrators could be subject to arrest. And police have been exercising enforcement in that way. Police who bring food, water, gas, people, rather, it says in that tweet, people who bring food, water, gasoline, or other supplies to peacefully protesting truckers are not breaking any law, says the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. This is a legal organization that often represents people on in cases involving Charter of Rights and Freedoms issues. There is no basis for this police threat that was issued by Twitter this morning, states lawyer Nicholas Wansbutter, who was retained by the Justice Center, which is representing the Freedom Convoy. It goes on and he says, in a free and democratic society that is governed by the rule of law, citizens can freely associate with each other, including the giving and receiving of goods and gifts. There is no law that would allow the Ottawa police to arrest people for giving fuel or food to another Canadian, continues Mr. Wansbutter. The truckers themselves are exercising their charter freedoms of their charter freedoms of expression, association, and peaceful assembly as they are legally entitled to do. And that was the statement from the JCCF. I am inclined to agree with that. We have seen video of police just walking up and taking jerry cans full of fuel off trucks, sometimes without the owner of the truck even there, just taking it. No discussion, no knowledge of the circumstances surrounding the fuel even being there, just taking it. And I understand they intercepted a transport truck, a tanker full of fuel as well, and confiscated that. So this is very serious stuff. I would say these measures that they're taking are less in line with what we see with traditional and, I would say, appropriate community policing, and more in line with a militaristic action. This looks to me more like an attack of sorts on the truckers. And all of these measures are, it looks more like a military strategy than a community policing strategy.
Big time. Like, I don't know if the state of emergency that was declared by the city of Ottawa entitles them to act in such authoritarian manners or not. But
that kind of emergency declaration, the state of emergency declared by a mayor of a city,
yeah,
in no way gives police any additional powers in that regard, in my view. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't believe that it does. What all that really does is open the door to the municipality requesting and receiving additional funding from senior levels of government so that they can bring more resources to bear in an emergency situation, and also streamlines the process that they can use to procure resources. So rather than send out issue a tender or a request for quotes to secure a municipal contract, to spend municipal money, they can kind of bypass some of those procedures and bring more resources to bear that way. So they can go to like a single vendor and say, we need to buy 10 snow blowers because we've had a major snowstorm and we have a state of emergency and we need more snow clearing equipment for our public works staff, and just buy them without going through the regular tendering process. It's things of that nature. But a mayor to give broad sweeping powers to a municipal police force that would do an end run around charter freedoms and shred even further whatever is left, if any, of the rights and freedoms that Canadians might have. I'm pretty sure that the mayor doesn't have that kind of power.
I would bet, as you would say, dollars for donuts that you couldn't do that. I believe this is something that only federal parliament can do. So if they were to declare a state of emergency under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, like Pierre Sr. did, or Pierre Trudeau's dad did, that would declare the police sweeping powers, basically arrest them all and sort it out later kind of policy. Is that right?
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I mean, if you're going to bring in, what was the War Measures Act, and they've changed the name of that now. But if you were to implement that, then yes, the federal government then basically suspends everyone's rights, all of your rights, and they are doing that because they're basically going to war. But that is a very serious set of thing to do. There's procedures that have to be followed, and that's at the federal government level. That's not what a mayor does, but I'm not so sure that the general public understands much about this at all. And so when the mayor declares a state of emergency, I think that just by doing that, he's, in the minds of people, I think a lot of people might think that it does give police even more power. And I think that's also part of the mind game that they're playing with people, because not only have police been militarized in the city to implement this crackdown on the truckers' protest, that the government has also weaponized the media. And the media has really ramped up this propaganda campaign, which has turned into a smear campaign. They're trying to discredit the truckers, label them as a bunch of racists, violent racists, and all the evidence we've seen, all the video we've seen, everything we've heard, everyone we've spoken to, everything we've witnessed says just the opposite, that this has been entirely peaceful. And in fact, I'd like to bring up a video here in just a moment of Viva Fry, play a short clip from him. Great YouTuber. He ran for the People's Party of Canada, I believe. I'm not sure what riding he was in, but he did run in the last election. He's a lawyer, and he's been down in Ottawa, and we have a video of him that we'll bring up in a moment, and he speaks to this.
I'm very glad that we took the moment to kind of clarify that about municipalities' usage of emergency measures. Like you stated before, it's more something that should be utilized during an emergency or something of that nature. So it's good that we are able to clarify that.
There are other things here that the public really needs to be concerned about. The police chief said and stated in this news conference again that they absolutely were going after that GoFundMe money, that $10 million.
Yes.
We heard that, it was clear from early on that was part of their strategy to freeze those funds. And I think it's a dark day in Canada, and it's a dangerous and slippery slope that we're on when the government sanctions the confiscation or the freezing of funds that have been earmarked and have been donated to a lawful protest, funds that are going to their political opponents. What they're doing is they're trying to criminalize being opposed to the government. They're trying to criminalize political opposition. So if you don't like what the government is doing and you speak up, they'll charge you, they'll freeze your money, they'll arrest you. This is where it all goes. It's a dark, dark day, and people should be very, very concerned about this. Now, they haven't been entirely successful because that money is being refunded to the people, but who donated it, and now an alternative funding platform has been set up, and people are donating through that. But it has been somewhat effective because it's delayed the funds getting through, and who knows exactly where the fundraising will ultimately end up. Any further thoughts on that, Brenden?
Well, what we're looking at here with the way the police are lashing out and with what they're doing, this is what a tyrannical government does when they can't compel. They lash out. And that's what they're doing here. But the problem is there's no protection for any of these people. And that's the terrifying part. It's going to take years for any restitution. It's kind of like how people get thrown in jail for like 20 years and then they go, "Oh, sorry, our bad." Ha ha ha. Awkward laugh.
Isn't it? And it's sort of odd. This all started with Justin Trudeau and government officials saying this is a small fringe minority with unacceptable views that do not represent Canadians. Well, if it's such a small fringe minority, why are you even worried about it? And now what we're hearing is this language that is basically framing these truckers, these protesters, these Canadians who have been down there as almost like domestic terrorists. And we've even heard language to that effect from some councillors and municipal officials in Ottawa in Zoom meetings that have been leaked or broadcast online. And it's gone from, this is just a small fringe minority to, I heard the phrase used, a national insurrection was a phrase used by an Ottawa municipal official just within the last day. That's what I heard. This is very troubling language because what this really means is they're trying to create this narrative and build on this story. And I must say, the police chief is a very good storyteller, as many of these people have been. And he's backed up, of course, with these propagandists from the mainstream media who are well funded. He likes to use that word as well, that phrase, well funded. Well, you know who's well funded? The media.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're using that language because I think mass arrests are imminent.
And they've
What we've
already
seen
kind of
yet,
begun.
yes, what we've seen is nothing yet.
Yeah.
And what we're about to see, I think, will be unprecedented, something we've never seen in Canadian history. The police services are going to sweep in there, and likely within the next 24 to 48 hours, I expect, and they are just going to start rounding people up and charging them with whatever. And I think the real danger here to those protesters is that they are going to be labeled domestic terrorists. And if that happens, the sentences will not be light. They'll be very, very heavy. And some of these people could go to jail for a very, very long time if Justin Trudeau and these other politicians and bureaucrats who have really set a lot of these new hate speech pieces of legislation, if they've set the way they've set these things up, and if they frame this the way they want to, I think that's exactly where this is going to go. That's what they will try to do. In much the same fashion as we've seen in the United States around that whole January 6th thing, and the police chief even referenced the January 6th incident in the U.S. in his very first news conference.
That's right. And so with that situation, you have people who had trespassing charges, and they're still in jail.
That's right. Because they're not just being charged with trespassing, they're domestic terrorists. And that is the danger here, the slippery slope that we're on. And so what this really is, let's face it, this is the Liberal Party of Canada, the Liberal government, the people on the left, Justin Trudeau, and Liberal politicians and left-wing politicians at other levels as well. What they're doing here is they are weaponizing police, weaponizing the media, weaponizing other institutions. They've crafted new legislation. They're using every tool that they can bring to bear. They're actually violating the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. They're violating the Constitution. They don't care. They're doing end runs around a lot of these things. They just don't care. They're ignoring a lot of it. Much of what the government is doing is very likely unlawful. They're the ones who are likely breaking the law in order to target and prosecute their political opponents, using all of these tools to shut them down and shut them up. And for a very small fringe minority, they seem to be very, very afraid of these truckers, who they are labeling as hateful, who they're trying to charge with hate crimes. All of this against the backdrop of new hate speech legislation, which has been enacted in Canada just recently. So we'll get a good workout in the courts. This is unprecedented, in my view, extremely troubling. And I think Canadians better wake up, open their eyes, and take a look at what is really going on here, because I think this is has the potential for huge abuse on the part of the government.
And the abuse is going to go to their political opponents every time. Just like that guy who had ran people over in Manitoba. Police had just released his name today. But when you look at Twitter or anything else with mainstream politicians, it's all crickets. They have nothing to say. So this is somebody who was essentially more or less an Antifa type person. And we at a Manitoba protest just this past weekend on Saturday, I believe, Saturday last. He took a Jeep Patriot and he ran over 4 individuals, hospitalizing one temporarily. Luckily, no one was killed, but it could have very well went that way. But now we have the details about it, and I called it when we watched that video. I said, "There's a guy alone in a car with a mask on."
Sure. Let's watch the video of what happened. I'll bring it up here. This is the video of the man running over. There it is right there. My God. My God. I'll roll this back so we can see it one more time. So this was in, just give us some narration here, Brenden, and let people know what they're seeing.
So this was in Manitoba at the Manitoba Provincial Legislature Assembly, and people were protesting mandates there.
And miraculously, the person who was run over by the by the man in the Jeep Patriot was not killed. Or
yes,
he was injured, but I guess he's not killed. Now, some charges have been laid. And
I do have the Rebel article up here in my screen share if you want to bring that up.
Yeah, no, we're not going to bring that up.
Okay.
But what we do know is the man's name is who has been charged. And of course, these charges have not been proven in a court of law. So we need to make that clear. But the man charged, his name is David Zegarak. And this man has a history as an anarchist activist.
That's right, and he was a more or less like a punk rock musician type of dude. He had a band called Brat Attack, and one of the songs is titled, "Hey Harper, you anti-choice, homophobic, bleep, die, die, die."
Yeah. So, I mean, even right here, it seems like there's a double standard being employed because, as we've seen, let's face it, if this had been the other way around, right, where let's say it was a pro-mask, pro-lockdown, pro-vaccine rally to protest the truckers, and some trucker guy in a F-150 rolled over one of those protesters. What do you think the narrative would be on that, or the approach?
It would be far right, far right anti-masker Nazi runs over pro-vaccine people.
Yeah,
something of that nature.
He would have been convicted in the court of public opinion even before his name was released. I'm pretty sure of it because that's what's going on in the media today. And if you can't see that, it's because you're just watching way too much mainstream or legacy media. The media today is not what it was even just a few years ago. It's been, in my view, corrupted by all this government money that's flowing in. And I say that, I think, with some authority, having worked for CTV and some other broadcasters, but mostly CTV, for over 25 years in television news. So I know of what I speak. This current situation, that's why Brenden and I are on here tonight. We knew that the time had come and that there was a need for other perspectives, other outlets, other ways for people to see what's really going on out there. So that's what we're trying to do here in our own small way, to bring more perspective so that people get closer to the truth.
And, that doesn't mean that our perspective is correct, but as always, you should take everything with a grain of salt. It is up to you to ask your own questions and come to your own.
Yeah, don't take what we're saying as gospel either. You should question everything you're hearing here. And this is not, a traditional news broadcast that we're trying to present here. This is our perspective. And we've been running a lot of unedited, uncensored, unfiltered video as much as possible as well to allow you to get your own perspective and get, again, closer to the truth. And that's why tonight we're also going to run this news conference with the truckers, because I have yet to see that on any of the legacy media outlets. The truckers and some of the other protesters, some of the doctors involved, they did hold a news conference after we saw raids on their main compounds and having their fuel confiscated. So again, Brenden, what do you think of this anarchist? Any more thoughts on the charges that were laid against him?
I mean, not necessarily, because it depends on what they're able to prove. If they can't prove that it's politically motivated, then what can they do?
Well, he's been charged, with 4 counts of assault with a weapon, that being the truck. 2 counts of dangerous operation of a conveyance causing bodily harm, dangerous operation of a conveyance, 2 counts of failure to stop after an accident, knowing that the driver was reckless, and failing to stop at the scene of an accident, times 2. So he has not been charged with a hate crime at this point, and police are not saying if they know what the motivation behind this might have been. But knowing what we now know about this man's background, it seems to me that, and we have to be careful what we say here, but it seems to me that further investigation is warranted. And I think police owe it to the person who is run over and to the public to try to get a little further to the bottom of this thing before it goes to court, and make sure that the charges that are laid are appropriate and at the level that needs to be there.
You know what? This reminds me of a very similar case that had happened in London, Ontario last summer, where it was a very tragic event where a family was run over. Do you recall that incident?
Oh, of course. I don't think anybody has forgotten that. It was extremely tragic.
Extremely tragic. And the London police, so unlike this situation, where they say, oh, well, we may never know or understand the political motivations of this individual. With the London incident, it was a very immediate. We understand that his this was terrorism, and that he was politically motivated by hate, and it was all about hate and that sort of stuff. And it caused all of the politicians and everybody who lived in London to break social distancing and other archaic rules that have been put into place that they say you're supposed to follow. So it brought out Doug Ford, it brought out Justin Trudeau, and it was quite the massive vigil. And
when there were restrictions on the size of gatherings outside because they were afraid of super spreader events. So we saw that with Black Lives Matter protests in the aftermath of the George Floyd incident in the U.S. And then we saw it in London after that tragic incident.
Yes, and I mean, I'm by no means supporting, but I'm saying do a side-by-side comparison on those events. Am I putting that together correctly, or am I talking crazy here?
No, I think that there's certainly social political forces at play and influences, and I think that anytime police look at crimes through a political lens, it's inappropriate. They need to look at it through a legal lens and push all of that stuff aside as much as they possibly can to make sure that the law is evenly administered, always.
Yes.
So that everyone is treated equally under the law.
Yes, and I mean, with that other gentleman, it seems like it was instant suicide. It was trial by public court, like he said, right before anything even went to court. Like, it's supposed to go to court, and the facts are supposed to be settled in court. But the police made a much different statement for that individual than they do with the individual from Manitoba who got hit by the Jeep Patriot.
Yes. It was swift, very fast to the conclusions that were drawn in that particular incident. And we've seen it in other incidents as well, not only in Canada, but in the US as well. And it's a lot of it is driven by the media, and a lot of it is driven politically. So let's just be honest and say that that's what it is, because that's what it is. And so, then what happens in the courts is another matter. And I believe that case is still going through the court system. And over time, we will find out more about what really happened surrounding that as more facts come out. But what we're really talking about is the media response and police response to various incidents that have a political component or a social political component to them. And that's exactly what we've seen here, except that in this case, the government is opposed to the truckers. They're opposed to freedom. They're opposed to restoration of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. They don't want you to have your freedom back, and they're going to do everything they can to shut these protesters and to shut these truckers down. And they're going to smear them and charge them and confiscate their fuel and take their food and take their water and take everything they can from them and do whatever they can to make sure this thing ends, because their goal is not just to keep people safe, it is to shut this thing down.
That's exactly it. And we'll continue to see the hypocrisy of the left, as I like to call it, in real time. So we'll have.
And so, do you think it's fair to say that the police service in Ottawa, and maybe other police services as well, especially the ones that have, in particular, maybe not especially, but in particular, the ones that have sent reinforcements up to back up these operations, these militaristic style operations in Ottawa, do you think they've been politicized?
Oh, big time. Big time. It's definitely politicized. Definitely politicized. Like, I have the direct correlation, and I'm not sure if I could make this comparison fairly, but we all remember the Free State of Chaz in the United States, where they took a whole block of an entire city, and they turned it into the Free State of Chaz, where there no police, no nothing. It was anarchy, chaos, violence. And
yeah, they called it the Chop Zone or whatever. They kept changing the name.
The Chop Zone, like, okay, that. Well, I mean, it's not even funny. Like, why am I laughing? Because I'm laughing at the hypocrisy, I guess I could say, but that would be a direct correlation where you almost had no media coverage on it, and it was almost applauded by people on the left, and now we have. I don't even think that this is really a left or right issue what's happening in Ottawa, but the left is certainly stating that it's not their issue, and so that's why they're bringing out the hammer down. They want people to submit to these public health orders. They want people to submit to government overreach, and because the people have had enough and they are lashing out, this is them in turn lashing out because they don't know how to handle it anymore.
Yes.
This is a big mess. It's going to take them years and years and years to fix it, even if it can be fixed, because there's a lot of mistrust by the public now. A lot.
Yeah. Let's take a look at how police have been enforcing, I guess, these new laws or taking these new approaches to things. Here's a video of police making an arrest. Arresting someone that I guess is a big threat in some way, and this guy was arrested for honking his horn.
What's the matter?
Says none of your. I think he swore at the guy.
Oh, is the video playing?
Oh, can you not see this? Okay, let me.
No, it's still screen entirely.
Okay, hang on just a moment.
We can try and run it through my end if you like.
No, I've got it. I just have to get the right screen up here, Brenden. Just
Oh, okay.
one moment. I'll grab it for you. We do have it here for you, folks. I apologize for the technical difficulties. One moment, and we will get the right clip here. I believe this one is it. Okay. Here we go.
They attacked another car.
Have we got her now? I think so.
Yes.
Okay. Let's listen to the way that this police officer speaks to the guy with the camera.
What did he do wrong?
None of your fucking concern, man. What do you mean?
Did he use the F word?
Yep.
That's a police officer using the F word to a
You
citizen
don't
with a
have to
camera.
answer that.
At least that's what it sounded
You
like
don't
to
have
me.
to answer his questions.
No, it
sir.
was. This
You
is my
don't
second
have
time
to answer
watching.
his questions, sir.
He does have to.
No, he
You want
doesn't.
comments? Film me from the sidewalk.
Don't. Fuck off.
You want comments? Film me from the sidewalk.
Yeah,
Mm.
you see what he
Right.
did?
Yes, I know.
He swung at me.
You're abusing old men.
You swung at me.
That you're not a Canadian.
If I swung at you, it's on film, so you're fine. Driver's
Because I
license.
shoot at the horn.
Yeah.
He come and hit me.
Yeah, it's called
That
communism.
is why you're pulled
It's
over.
called communism.
Driver's license.
It's communism. You don't have to show anything. You didn't do anything wrong.
I know I have.
You have the right of freedom of choice.
Of
You
course.
have the right to beep your horn or whatever. Why are you doing this?
Because it's an offense.
Of
It's an
what?
offense to beep your noise.
No, it is not an offense since
It is.
when?
Tell me it's not. I have it written down that it is. It's actually an
So
offense.
you're
Right?
standing with your lying government? Your lying cop?
Driver's license.
He's right.
Do you know that your superior is a liar and he went on the media lying to the Canadian people? Now you're
Call
doing
the police,
this?
Have me fired. Have me
What's
fired.
your name and badge number?
0192 Jones.
Jones.
There. You have everything you need to have me fired.
Yeah,
for
look at
abuse
what
of
they're doing to
my
an old man.
Okay?
That's a citizen
Yeah,
of Canada.
Shoot at the horn. He's pissed off.
That's right.
That's
So
exactly
is
what
everybody
you
who lives here.
are. I can be a
Doesn't
really-
matter.
What about them?
This is the
What about
capital of Canada. Drop your mandates. Stand down.
I don't have
You're not doing your job. You're representing hate. You're a terrorist. You're a terrorist.
I don't know why the fucking-
You're representing hate. No,
Driver's license.
you're representing hate.
Call your lawyer.
You'd be really
Call your lawyer. I don't
Then you
care.
have
Give
to
me your
tuck
driver's
up the
license,
throat.
insurance, registration.
You have to tuck up the whatever. Maybe you're on this type, but I mean, it's
Focus.
because I should have gone to that guy because he's got flags.
That's
You
right.
told me all
He's
that.
a supporter for Canadian freedom.
You shouldn't even oppose
Who cares?
You shouldn't have
They
opposed
shouldn't
him.
live in the capital of Canada. Then they better leave. Because until the mandates are ended,
Yeah, you
this
said-
is not going to stop.
It's on your license.
Stop harassing old men. You don't have to show them anything.
Hey,
It's against the law. You just
fuck you, I'm not
You're
giving
under arrest.
No.
for what? Hey,
Under arrest.
What are you doing?
what are you doing?
Failing to ID.
Hey, hey, that's assault. I've got it all on video.
Failed to ID.
Yeah, he failed to ID.
Get back.
Hey,
Get back. Get back.
We're back. We're filming. We're doing our part.
Get back.
It's all on video. No, don't say anything. Don't say anything.
You know what a goof is? You know what a goof
You're a
is?
fucking goof.
Hey, Rich, stand down. Stand down. Stand down. Rich, no, it's peaceful.
What am
No,
I
let
doing?
them
Fucking
be.
attack me, you fucking goof. Fucking not doing shit. Touch me, punk ass.
This is going right to the media.
This is Canada
Me too.
today.
What's your name and
Canada.
badge number? What's your name and badge number? What's your name and badge number? What's your name and badge number?
Yeah, you're a
Look, they're hurting an old man, a Canadian citizen. It's communism. This is communism. He's scared. Communist.
You stand with the communist fucking government.
Call your police chief. He'll back you up.
Call the police.
Call your police chief.
Fucking arresting citizens.
Arrested an old man. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Beat the horn.
Yeah, I know he beat the horn. What the fuck do they represent? They represent Trudeau and the police chief slowly. That's what they represent. Hate, division. You are not protecting and serving nobody. Communism right here. Lest we forget. Fight for your rights. This is bullshit. Communist.
This is
fucking
Ottawa.
police.
Ottawa.
What's your name and
Ottawa.
badge number, sir? What's your name and badge number, sir?
You have nothing to do with this.
What's your? Yes, I do. I'm a Canadian citizen.
Attacking people,
What is your
buddy.
name and badge number?
Tough guys with your fucking guns. Tough guys with your fucking guns.
You do that to the Canadian citizens of Canada. What did we do?
Get back.
Get back.
Give
Get
up
back.
on you.
Get
I'm
back.
standing on the
Get
road,
back.
man.
Get
This
back.
is a free country.
Get back.
This is a
Get
free
back.
What are we doing?
country.
Get back.
What am I doing?
Get back. You're causing a disturbance by yelling.
You caused a disturbance. You just arrested an old man.
Bro, you're causing a disturbance by yelling.
just arrested
You're
an old
disturbing
man.
the peace. You want to get arrested? Get out.
Please,
Get out.
please, please.
Okay, then get them out.
I'm getting
Get them out.
Thank you.
There you go.
Come
people.
on. We're not gonna make it.
We got it all on video. They called for backup.
I
Well, first off, I think it's important that maybe we should be critical of the situation. When you're stopped by the police, you can't be raving and doing that.
But you see what's happened to our society. You see how it's divided. Now we have police arresting people for something as minor as honking a horn. You see how it escalated. You see how things got out of hand. Why is that? Why did that happen? Did that really need to happen today?
No, it
Did-
did not
did
need
the
to
police
happen.
need to
Not
do
over,
that?
despite the behavior of the civilian people in that video, that whole situation could have just been avoided. It did not
And-
have to happen.
Let's face it. Police know how to use laws as tools to intimidate people that they want to target. What the government has done is they've given them tools, more tools to do just that. And so what they did is that little old man was targeted because he tooted his horn. And because he tooted his horn, what would a normal approach to that be? If he was making excessive noise, normally he might get pulled over, the police officer might approach and just have a word with him, give him a warning, and the guy would be on his way. And the officer, if he was being professional, would speak to him in a very civil, even, professional tone of voice. And the whole thing would be handled in a very even, mild manner, right? Because isn't that really a more appropriate response to someone tooting their horn? Even though there has been this temporary injunction issued, I believe, as of today, where police can lay charges for people blowing their horns and making excessive noise and ratcheting it up a notch. But was that level of response really needed? And because that level of response was executed, you got an escalated response on the part of the citizens. So now what the government's done is created this volatile situation. They've thrown fuel on it and they've lit it on fire. So that poor little old guy ends up getting arrested today. That's not good community policing. That's not good imagery for the police. That's not good for the people. This undermines public trust in policing. This is not good. This is not the Canada that we have known, and it's not the Canada that we want. Nobody, I don't think anybody wants to live in this kind of society. And yet some people, I shouldn't say that. There are some people who are cheerleading this kind of thing. This is wrong. And the government is responsible. The government is responsible for what happened out there today. Those cops think they're doing the right thing, but look at the tone that they took. That one officer, I swear, it sounded like I used the F word to me.
Well, he did use the F word, and you can play it back as much as you want, because I did watch that video already, so that would be my second time seeing that one. He does say the F word in the beginning there, but you have the Ottawa police chief bragging that some individuals have worked 14 days in a row. If you work 14 days in a row, I don't give a shit what you work in 14 days in a row. You're going to be a grumpy person.
Yeah.
This is not going to lead to positive policing. This is not going to lead to anything good.
Right. And I'm going to say right now, and I think other people have said this as well, the blame for this and the blame for anything else that goes south in Ottawa should be laid squarely at the feet of Justin Trudeau, because he could take steps himself and should to de-escalate this thing. And all it would take would be for him to come out and just speak to the Canadians who have been on his doorstep for over a week now, demanding to talk to him. And and they're taxpayers. They have a right to expect a response from him. This is the response. This and all those officers we've seen confiscating fuel and food at the end of a gun. That's what policing has come to there. And it doesn't matter what you've been told in the mainstream media over the past week. We've been showing you that protest has been entirely peaceful. Entirely, not mostly, entirely peaceful. As peaceful as any protest could ever possibly be. In fact, it was like a freedom festival down there, and many, many people the people who went down there were using phrases like best experience of my life. That's what we've been hearing back. That whole video of that guy getting arrested, it makes me want to cry. That is the state of our country today, folks. That's because of our politicians. And it's because of our bureaucrats and the police chief in Ottawa, who is allowing himself to be used as a political tool. That's not good community policing.
And you know what? When all this blows up and all this is investigated, they're going to use him as the fall guy. The mayor, the city council, Justin Trudeau. Oh, I had nothing to do with it. It was all the chief. He's going to be the fall guy. It's all going to be his fault. And he thinks, oh, I'm the hero of Ottawa right now. We're going to crap all over people and not follow policing guidelines.
Look, I feel bad for those cops.
Oh, big time.
I think they're misguided. I think they're probably overworked. I think they're in a difficult situation where you've got citizens yelling at them and using, foul language.
Yes.
And it's difficult to maintain your composure, but they're professionals. They're in those situations all the time, and they should know better. And they should have taken a more even-handed approach, and they should have found a way to work that out, in my view, without arresting that poor fella. Okay? You want that guy? You're going to take that guy to jail?
Again, I do not recommend escalating situations. If somebody is pulled over by the police, don't escalate it. I'm not a lawyer, but just keep your mouth shut.
And somebody making a point about beating up the homeless, show me the video, show me the evidence. I want to see that, because we haven't seen any credible evidence that story is even true.
In fact, our person on the ground has even vouched that they have spoken with homeless people in Ottawa, and they said they have never been better fed and better funded. Ever. And that we've even seen stats coming out of Ottawa. The weekends that the protest has been going on, 90% reduction in crime. That never happens. That never happens ever.
Yeah. The point here is, I guess the main point is just our society is breaking down.
It is.
And people are being divided. And that, again, it goes straight to the top. Straight to the top. Straight to Justin Trudeau.
And his gaslighting and his name calling.
Yeah. Yep. I'm
very disgusted in what's happening here. But
yeah,
like
me too.
Said,
I am.
But like I said, this is the tyranny lashing out because it can no longer compel. It has lost its ability to compel 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
It will not be able to compel people anymore because, like we are seeing today, the Ambassador Bridge was also blocked.
Yeah, and but before we get to that, Brenden, I'd just like to play this short clip from Viva Fry, the lawyer. I mean,
Montreal litigator turned YouTuber.
Yeah, he's awesome. If you haven't been to his YouTube channel, check him out. He always has a lot of real value to share. And let's just run some of this. He was live earlier, and we picked up this feed. And
Cameras away from you, they can hear me.
Here we go.
You are in fact shoveling the ice off the road. Okay, go for it. I'll keep the camera pointed away from you. I'll get this gentleman if you have mind being on camera. Sure. Do you mind being on camera? I'll give you 2 minutes. Yeah, absolutely.
Can you turn it up, please?
Maybe our second
Yeah.
on the street. So, Elgin and Albert Street. Those rowdy protesters are clearing the snow so that people don't slip and fall. My conclusion, I suspect it's the same conclusion as everyone out there. We're not being told the truth. There's a reason for which we are not being told the truth. I think why they're trying to demonize this protest, this convoy, try to demonize it so that they can then justify the heavy hand of the law. Don't worry, going this way. I'm not recording you guys. So they can justify the heavy hand of the law to declare a state of emergency, as they have done yesterday in Ottawa. So they can then justify whatever measures they want to suppress and quell this protest, which has been nothing but peaceful. Do you mind being on camera? Okay, now, sir,
Yes, sir.
if you don't want to mention your name, tell me who you are and what you're doing here.
I'm a next service member of the Canadian Armed Forces, retired in 2018. I served my country for 30 years, okay, for rights, freedoms, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I swore an oath, and my oath will never expire until I die. And I think it's extremely important that the people join in for this fight for freedom, because our freedom are being lost as we speak. And we must support the truckers, the other veterans that are here to help for this freedom. And when I say fight, I mean peacefully, not no violence at all, because violence brings up violence, which is what we do not want. And I'm sure through all these law enforcement, police officers, there are good people in there. And yes, they all have a job to do. But as population and people of this beautiful nation, we also have a duty to preserve our freedom for all the children, as in front of me I see there, for the next generations. Because if we let that go, our freedoms could be gone forever.
Now, have you been here? Were you here yesterday?
I came here late yesterday.
Okay.
We booked a hotel. My wife and I is also an ex-military serving member of 32 years of service. And we booked a hotel until Friday. Now we're trying to rebook for the weekend.
But they're not. Are they letting you, or can you book online?
Well, right now, the hotel is fully booked. Okay. So we're trying to get if there's any cancellations every day there. So
And now the question I meant in terms of being here yesterday, last night,
Yes.
if you have any firsthand knowledge of this, I saw videos on Twitter, on Telegram, police seizing canisters of diesel fuel.
Yes.
Did you witness any of that yourself?
No. I didn't. I wasn't there on the spot. I saw it like you online. Some of the people that were there posting them. Again, I can't comment on that.
Cool. And have you seen anything remotely bordering on violent, disruptive?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yesterday I came and I spent about 2.5 hours in the area. No violence, peaceful. Everybody's extremely nice. I didn't see nothing. No, I can't say there's no violence at all. Nothing.
Okay. And you're from Quebec?
Yes. Well, I'm actually from Ottawa.
Okay.
I was born and raised here in Ottawa, and right now I'm from Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean.
All right. It's a beautiful place, Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean. If you've never been, you have to go.
It is, but unfortunately, Quebec has become a totalitarian state.
100%.
Unfortunately, it's sad. It's sad to see where this has gone, and it's only up to the people to make it stop.
Fantastic.
Again, like I say, peacefully. And if people stand together, there's nothing more powerful than the love of the people that come together for a right reason and for freedom of anything, freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of no discrimination. Article 15 of the Charter of Rights specifies it. No one shall be discriminated or segregated due to religion, sex, mental illness, physical illness.
I've gone over the charter many times on the channel.
So it must be upheld, especially by the law enforcement and the people that want their country back as it was, as a free society.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. If I may.
Hey, thank you so much, sir.
For
who do you?
well, right now we're live, so there's
Okay.
8,000 people watching on YouTube.
Nice.
And how many people are on Rumble in the chat? Let us know. And I'm walking the streets and gonna document all day.
Well,
if you go to YouTube, Viva Fry.
Viva Fry?
Yeah, VIVAFREI.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Have yourself a good day.
You too. Good day, guys. See ya. All right, there we have it. Interview number 1 or 2, depending on if you count the shoveling guy who I couldn't record or did not want to be on camera. And I say that without judgment. Okay, hold on, people. I'm going to just clean that. Oh, wait, one more. There we go. Beautiful.
All right, maybe that's enough of that one.
Yep. So
I have an interesting observation with this one.
mm-hmm.
The military camp is probably the most divided. Like the veterans camp is probably the most divided subsection of our culture, I would say, because they're very orders handed down from the top down type of people usually. And so more often than not, I've seen a lot of them say, well, when I was in the military, I took 100,000 jabs and it was the greatest thing ever. We couldn't ask any questions about it or do anything about it. So just take your shot. And if you don't take your shot, you should be thrown into a hospital tent and just left there to die. That's been by far usually what I've seen from that camp. And so for me to see this and one or two other examples, but I more often than not, I have seen the example. When I was in the military, we had to take all these vaccinations, et cetera, and we weren't allowed to question it or do anything about it. So you need to stop being a baby and take your shot. Yeah.
I haven't experienced or seen much of that. I've seen the opposite. People who have served in the military, I've generally seen them with the point of view that they fought for freedom and they want to preserve that. And That's what that was what that gentleman
Yes.
shared with
Yes.
us in that brief clip. But the more important point, I think, was made previous to that by Viva Fry, and he's been down there on the ground, as some other people from our team have been in Ottawa, and he also has come to the conclusion that from his observations and everything he's seen and heard, that it's been an entirely peaceful protest, and that the media has not been truthful, and that they are creating a narrative, telling us a story, and using language that can be used to justify the implementation of this state of emergency and a more militaristic approach by Ottawa police and their policing partners, as they call them. So that's what we're getting. We're getting escalation on the part of police, and they're determined to shut this thing down. Now, I do have another person up there that he doesn't appear on camera, but I do speak with him, do communicate with him in Ottawa, and he's sort of spends his days in the outlying areas more. But he indicated to me that, a few days ago, he told me that mostly people were on side with the truckers, or they just didn't care, and that the narrative being spun in the media was not accurate, just because most people were just kind of taking it all in stride. But he said, as of like late yesterday and today, the mood in Ottawa has changed, and that a lot of people are now opposed to the truckers. And he said that somebody that he knows that was down there driving around in around Parliament Hill, that their car was pelted with eggs, and that people are now carrying around signs calling the truckers terrorists. So I'm not surprised by that, but I would suggest that maybe some of that, maybe even the majority of it, is coming from people who were opposed to this from the beginning anyway. And now, because the media has made progress in getting their narrative out there, and because the police chief has been spinning his story and his version of the way things are supposed to be, and this whole racist, violent, redneck trucker cliche is being spread around, I think those people are maybe being emboldened now and coming out and making their presence known in an effort to continue to further that narrative as this attack continues.
I wouldn't call it so much emboldened, but they have basically legitimized this type of resistance, or these people would feel more or less deputized to take this position and to take more of a stance against it.
Yeah, well, I think that they are more emboldened because the crowds are down. People have gone, a lot of the regular everyday folks who still have jobs had to go back to work. And police have done their best to get the crowds down by booking all the hotels with tax dollars to prevent people from staying there and going to the protest.
Yep.
And by laying all these charges and making arrests and getting people to leave. So as the crowd gets thinner, the other side begins to move in more, and their voice now is on display through egg pelting and signs that call the truckers terrorists. So that whole narrative gets pushed more, right?
Well, actually, that narrative was always pushed more, if you think about it.
Yep.
Because, well, this is a tactic used by legacy media more often than not. They'll tell a story, and they'll, quote-unquote, give it an unbiased run-through in the beginning. But then they find the craziest whack job that they could possibly find, and then they'll give them a soapbox to give the last statement. And then they don't add any context to it. And then they end the story. It's a common tactic. And it somewhat relieves them of all blame by saying, well, we didn't say that, but this crazy person we just gave a soapbox to and a national megaphone, They said that. But it more or less implies that they agree with the person giving the crazy statement.
Yeah. Just checking out a few things here to see if I can get an update on a couple of things that we're going to talk about as we move ahead here. Now, you did mention, Brenden, that there was some stuff going on at the border in Windsor today.
Yes. I did send a video. It's in our private chat.
Mm-hmm.
This second clip there.
Okay. So let's bring that up. Okay. So, just going to bring this down and let's see what's going on, has been going on in Windsor. This is at the Ambassador Bridge, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a southbound here in line. All the traffic coming off the bridge completely stopped. There's a big farm tractor in front of Assumption to the catwalk, completely blocking everything. And then all of us, bridge hasn't moved in about probably 45 minutes. The side exit for the bridge blocked by some patriots down here. Yeah, baby. Shit shut down. Yeah, guys setting up a barbecue to feed people up here. So, if anybody's available, come down here and help us out. Shut her down. All hands on deck.
So we haven't really been able to get much video out of Windsor at this point. But we do know that that was going down there today. So they did bring some traffic to a stop in Windsor, and we are trying to get you the latest from the scene there as well. And this just shows that the movement continues to spread across the country.
And as of 2 hours ago, it was still congested and they're still there. I'm currently looking for an update to see if they're still there or if they've been moved along yet via traffic cam. Via traffic cam, Canada into the United States side of the border is clogged with transports via the traffic cam I can see right now. But just bear with me here.
And so, that's an important point to make, is that, yeah, they can shut this thing down in Ottawa, and I'm sure that they will this week. They have the resources to do it, and the truckers have been peaceful, and even in the face of this opposition, they have been passive.
Yeah.
And that's why when police went in to remove people from the park, where a lot of them had been staying, there was no violence, and no death, no injuries, no major incidents, because the truckers and the protesters have been passive, peaceful. And we're seeing that the situation in Coutts, Alberta is continuing. You have the blockades there still set up. So you had the blockade, then the police came in and put a blockade in front of the blockade. So more truckers and farm trucks couldn't get in. And then a blockade was set up on the back of that. And now you've got all this stuff lined up down the highway. So you've got a blockade and of the cops, and then another blockade blocking in the cops. And that whole thing has turned into a bit of a mess down there too. But that's what's going on. And now here in Windsor, it's happening as well, and not as big as what we've seen in Alberta, but they can shut it down here and shut it down there. But people appear determined to have their freedoms and rights restored
across the board, across the country, big time. And one of the fascinating things about the border blockade that happened in Sarnia, Ontario yesterday was this was the road, the highway 402, which goes to the Blue Water Bridge into Port Huron, United States, and Michigan. That was all blocked off by the police. So it was like the OPP who had done that essentially.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, that's the other thing, right? It's like people are saying, well, what the truckers are causing all these traffic jams, and it's a big problem. The most of the traffic congestion, most of the traffic delays in Ottawa over the last few days have been because of police blocking roads and bridges, not the truckers.
Concrete barricades and things of that nature.
They shut down bridges.
Yeah. And it has not blocked the citizens of Ottawa from using those routes. They do have to declare themselves and the reason for using said route, especially for healthcare professionals who work at the hospitals and stuff like that. It's still open for the citizens, but if you are not a citizen of Ottawa, they will block you from using the certain bridges and things like that in this city.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So things continue to escalate, and it looks like I'm gonna say that mass arrests, I believe, are imminent, and we're likely to see that over the next 24 to 48 hours. So brace yourselves, everyone, because the ride is going to get even rockier over the next couple of days, I think. And I'm pretty sure the police are going to want to execute whatever their plan is, probably before Thursday, certainly no later, because they'll want to get this thing cleared out before crowds begin to assemble again for another weekend of festivities.
If they even can.
Yes.
I did see a report that was made. So there is a journalist down there, and he had a friend who had booked a hotel room. The hotel room was canceled, and they call the hotel, and the front desk guy is not allowed to answer any questions about it, not allowed to say anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's definitely something that really smells bad there, and it doesn't surprise me, like, that they would do that at this point. I mean, nothing surprised me coming out of this anymore. And this could potentially be a very dangerous situation, and these people have everything on the line. Their reputation, their livelihood, and their own lives, even, for that matter.
Yeah, and, the media has not been sharing all the information. They've not been giving people a complete perspective on this. No. And this is a news conference that the truckers held and some of the other protesters. We have some doctors at the center of this. And I would like to run a fair bit of this for you right now, because I think it's important for people to hear all sides of a story so that you can come to your own conclusions, make your own judgment. So let's rule this. This was last night, and let's just let it roll and let these guys speak for themselves.
Yeah, if you want to make it at full screen, like put the heads away.
Yep.
Thanks everyone for joining us. We're just going to make sure some more people are on the live. We have just a message to get out here. I think we have some people here. Take it away.
Okay, what we wanted to talk quickly to the Canadian public is about this. It is time that we stop and we declare this pandemic emergency over. And the truckers of Canada had a gut feeling and some really good common sense that this has to come to an end. And the problem is that by coming to the population needed to understand that they are backed by solid science. And that is where people like myself, Dr. Hodkinson, Dr. Poness, etc., have come forward, because we know 100% of the science is behind the trucker. The Canadian trucker is backed by solid science, not the government positions. That these vaccine mandates have no scientific or medical basis and must be stopped now. Dr. Hodkinson.
Thank you. I would amplify that. I'm a physician. Every death matters. We are seeing a kill of the population that is utterly inexcusable. It's unnecessary. It was predicted and it's happening. There is no time for dithering here. Vaccinations must stop for everyone tomorrow. The mandates must be lifted tomorrow. The carnage that's going on out there with our children is indescribable. As Dr. Alexander stated, the evidence medically is overwhelming. I'm not going to list it at this moment. All I am saying is that there's a degree of exasperation that the world must understand listening to this. Canada has been put forward as the epicenter of a major change in how things are run. It's going to transform the usual institutions of politics, of medicine, of law, and the media in ways that we cannot predict. But major changes are coming. And not only that, but we are being watched. We are seeing democracy challenged. And the Chinese are watching us. Make no mistake, this is a moment in history where there's a tremendous amount on the table. Not just vaccination schedules, but the very existence that we want our children to inherit. With that said, I would like to pass over to my friend here, Jeff, as to what's happening on the ground tonight here in Ottawa. Thank you.
Thank you. I know that the mainstream, the legacy media has been putting out all sorts of information, states of emergency, riotous activity, unruly, unlawful gatherings of people in this city right now. If you are attuned to that, it may bring anxiety, it may bring stress, it may heighten fear or concern for loved ones that maybe you know are here supporting this. But we assure you, this entire organization, it's not just a movement, it is an organization of dedicated, focused individuals who are standing unwavering. There are no ruffled feathers in this room or amongst this team. We have worked with local law authority and government to keep this exactly what we have intended it to be. It is a peaceful demonstration. We have complied by opening up access roads on every road that we have accessed or parked on with trucks and support vehicles. That was done to ensure that EMS would be able to respond to the concerns of the safety of the citizens of Ottawa, and also the safety and any concerns of the people who are here supporting this movement. We have worked repeatedly with law enforcement agencies to try to bring humane conditions to the people that are peacefully demonstrating. Washroom facilities, maintenance of those washroom facilities, and we have yet to get a solidified response to bring those deserved conditions to this peaceful demonstration. We are currently going to see legacy media streaming images of the police making arrests. They're currently treating this now with catchphrases, occupation, terrorism, and all sorts of very low-level commentary to try to sway people's opinion. They're currently out in the streets of Ottawa, and they are arresting people on charges of mischief for transporting fuel in proper containers in order to supply the people here for a peaceful demonstration to allow their vehicles to stay warm. If you've been following the media, the real media, the one you're watching right now, these are families. They have children with them. They have no intention of reacting negatively to anything that is going on. This is peace, it is love, and it is absolute unity. Absolute unity. There is nothing wrong with that. It is our right. So it brings all levels of consideration, which I'm not going to expand on right now because that is not the purpose. My intention is to assure those supporters, the truckers, the community of Ottawa, and all other citizens that are involving themselves with helping pass this message that we must keep the foundation solid. We must not waver with the falsehoods that are being put upon us right now. It is going to be an anxious experience. It is going to be tense if you are out in the street right now trying to aid your fellow man, woman, or family to keep them comfortable and fulfill their needs while we continue to demonstrate until we're acknowledged. But it is essential that we keep the same message. It is peaceful. It is unified. We will not have shows of violence at all towards law enforcement, and we must understand they are doing their job. They are doing their duty to protect the citizens. Though we may not agree with the actions that are being taken, we will not resist. We will not become violent. We will not act out. And my advice to those who are sitting in their trucks, continuing to support what we know is right, we are here for you. We have a legal team. If you are charged or arrested for any reason, my best advice at this point is to be calm, with zero comment, to comply with the instruction given to you with the officer that is engaging you. If they ask you to put your hands behind your back, simply do so. No gestures, no comments, no nods. Simply follow that instruction and be peaceful about it. I personally, if confronted with this, will take the advice of the kindergarten teacher of my 5-year-old son that I miss so much and want to be with. And I will crisscross applesauce, and I will sit down, and I will not move on the street. And I would suggest you consider that as a very effective way, to approach a situation that has clearly spun out of control through leadership that has tried at every single corner to disarm the voice of patriotism, unification, democracy, and freedom. That's all I have to say at this point, but we are with you. Please be calm. We will endure. We will not leave. I would like to pass it over to Tom.
Good evening. Thank you to all of you who've tuned in. I just want to say shortly that I just returned from Coventry. Coventry, for those of you who don't know, is one of our major locations that we have a lot of families, a lot of trucks. We have a lot of supplies. We have extremely high morale. Approximately 2 hours ago, Ottawa police have showed up in a very aggressive show of force. There was probably over 100 police officers in tactical gear with snipers on the roof. And I'm very pleased to report that all of our truckers, all of our families kept their composure. It was extremely peaceful. They came in, they took the fuel, which was their intent. Their intent was to come in, confiscate the fuel that we have that was donated or purchased to be distributed for the trucks. However, I'm pleased to say that that has no impact on our ability to continue operations whatsoever. It was absolutely inconsequential. And I would offer that I believe it was a very critical mistake on their part. It had no impact on our operations, but it certainly raised morale within the occupants, or excuse me, the people that are at Coventry. And I'm not going to take a bow, but I'm very, very proud of the way our truckers conducted themselves peacefully. There were 2 arrests for 2 people that failed to provide identification when asked by an officer, so they were arrested. And if that's the worst that can happen tonight, I'm very happy with that. In fact, I'm very proud of the way all of our people conducted themselves. And so we have a lot of support. So for you tuning in at home, just know that so what, they took a little bit of fuel that we're going to replace. It has no impact on what we're doing. It's inconsequential what they've done. It was a drastic show of force. Tomorrow, I will be making a public statement to outline what we believe to be a very measured, reasonable way forward. We believe it to be responsible. We believe it to be safe. And we would like to make that statement tomorrow to try to get interested parties to a negotiating table. So please tune in to that tomorrow. We'll provide some more details. And I'd like to say something for everybody's understanding. This is not a police solution. There is no policing resolution to this. This is a political solution. The Chief of Ottawa Police cannot give us what we want. The Prime Minister of Canada, he has the power to do that. His cabinet has the power to do that. The government of Canada has the power to end this. They need to sit down and talk with us. Tomorrow, I will make a public statement on how we believe we can come together and make that happen. Thank you.
If I could add one more thing to the viewers that are tuning in on whatever live feed you're watching from now, please take the time to share this message to everybody in your network.
I believe that we should be letting Joseph talk for a moment.
Something that all Canadians and all politicians have to be aware of. This is the nation's capital. Ottawa is not just a city in Canada. This is the nation's capital. And as citizens of the country, we've been working for 2 years to get the truth out to the Canadian people. And it took the truckers to create a platform that's allowing these doctors, these brave and doctors that are speaking truth about the truth in science. Canadians owe a deep debt of gratitude to all the truckers. So to the degree that you can support the truckers, please find a way to donate to the truckers. But never forget here, this Ottawa, to the citizens of Ottawa, you are in the nation's capital. There is no disrespect to you, the citizens of Ottawa. But please remember, you live in the nation's capital. And as Canadians, I'm from Saskatchewan. I have a right to be here. I pay taxes in this country, and our government is violating the law. They have been for 2 years now. And so we have a right to make our voices heard. So never forget that. This is Canada. This is the nation's capital. So Canadians, stand up with us. Stand up for your God-given rights.
Freedom for everybody.
Dr. Alexander, I wanted to tie it up quickly for some of the excellent remarks made is this.
Louder, please.
The evidence, Canadians need to understand something, that there is clear evidence on the table now for over 1 year that shows that a compendium of issues, a key one is that the vaccines are not working properly and have actually failed now on the Omicron variant. We are saying that the pandemic is over and that we must bring this to a close now. There are 12 nations led by UK, including the Nordic nations, which are dropping their mandates directly. Some are taking a more staggered approach, but they are bringing them down more immediately. There's a reason for that. And the reason is that the vaccines do not work. And the evidence is showing us that there's no difference between a vaccinated person and an unvaccinated. The vaccinated is actually transmitting virus. There is no reason to curtail a trucker coming to the border of Canada to come into Canada and earn a living. Absolutely none. These mandates have no credible basis. And the public health community, the scientists, we are asking you, we are telling you we are here and we are very open to have a very embracing discussion with you about the science, because we understand that the truckers are backed 100% by the science, and we are willing to make the argument for them. Dr. Hutchinson?
I am overwhelmed with the possibility of our children dying from the planned vaccination. This is a catastrophic threat to our children. Everyone must understand that children are not dying of COVID and certainly not dying of Omicron. Children are being vaccinated with something that can kill them for a reason that is not going to give them any more trouble than a regular cold. It's at that scale of distortion in the media. Childhood vaccination could be called child sacrifice to appease the new gods that are there on Parliament Hill. We never sacrifice our children to appease the new gods. It didn't work for the Aztecs. It didn't make the rain fall for them, and it will not save Granny in the nursing home. This despicable attack on our children has to stop.
Amen.
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 So that was the news conference by the truckers and a couple of doctors who have been taking the lead on this issue. Thoughts, Brenden?
Well, first off, I thought it's absolutely commendable with their outlook after such a tragedy happening, and it just shows you their commitment to keep going and that they're solidified in their beliefs of what they're doing is right. I believe in what they're doing is right as far as my perspective goes. Dr. Roger Hodgkinson is very brave, and he has been very brave from the beginning. From his first appearance in, I believe it was somewhere out west. They had somewhere out west. They had a municipal hearing about it, and he presented a speech. He's been very brave from the beginning. He's been just as outspoken now as he has been since the beginning. This is what we've been seeing. What do you think about their recommendations for if you are arrested? The whole crisscross applesauce thing. Do you think that's the way to go, or?
Absolutely. Just remain peaceful. Don't resist. Police will do what they are going to do.
Yes.
I think that they need to treat this in many respects like a labor union, or like a labor union would treat a strike. So you want to try to hold the line. I think if you're one of the protesters, one of the truckers, you want to try to maintain your position. So then it's clear they're going to continue to try to do that. But if police come in with force, don't push back, because if they're going to arrest you, don't resist. It just puts you in a worse position, and you don't want things to escalate because you don't want anyone to get hurt.
Yes, exactly. It's just no different than what I said with the video where the elderly gentleman was arrested by the police. It's yelling and shouting at the cops is not going to do anybody any favors at any point, whether you are in the right or in the wrong. At that point, it needs to go to court, and it needs to be seen by a judge, because you're screwed anyway.
Yeah, and this is footage from through the day today in Ottawa, and as you can see, trucks are still there, and the protest is continuing. So the efforts by police overnight to confiscate fuel, food, water, prevent more supplies from getting to the truckers, confiscating an entire tanker truck full of fuel, all of these things, while they may have had some impact, it has not brought the protests to an end. We heard some numbers from the police chief in his news conference earlier today, which we played for you. And yeah, I mean, we're trying to give you balance here and a complete perspective. So this is what has been going on in Ottawa today. Of course, the crowds are way down, and there are many reasons for that. The major reason is it's Monday. So a lot of the people, the supporters who were there over the weekend, have gone back to work. Your thoughts, Brenden?
This is typical of what I think we're supposed to see by this point. The government is going to grip and grip and grip. But I think what they will find in the long run, and they even kind of said it themselves, that every time they try and grip harder, it's a lot like, going to be a lot like a wet bar of soap, more than anything.
Yeah,
it'll just slip right through. Like they will be successful in the long run. I have made a terrible Star Wars analogy to a lot of people, including yourself, and I've been thinking about it, and I kind of think that what we are going through right now is going to ultimately be Star Wars, what's it called? Empire Strikes Back. So this is going to be kind of the Empire Strikes Back of the story. At some point, Luke Skywalker gets his hand cut off, and it's going to be a part of the hero's journey. This is only a section. This is not going to be the event that breaks the camel's back, but there will be a future event, and that future event is going to deliver us from mandates, I think.
I just want to run this footage here. This is the Ambassador Bridge. This was just before sunset, and trucks backed up. The trucks entering Canada, the lanes entering Canada backed up. And that's because of the protest that, that took place there through the afternoon today. And as far as I know, it's still in place down there in Windsor. And we're trying to get you more updates. This comes from WDIV television out of Detroit.
I'm going to try and see if we still have things going on there.
Yeah, we do have some people who are heading down that way today. And if we can get some information from them, we'll certainly convey that to you to try to bring you the most up-to-date information. But I think a lot of this stuff has actually been blocked coming out of there. That's what I heard earlier today. So some of the feeds and things that we were expecting to get haven't really been available to us.
Yes, and a pretty common problem for a lot of Canadians when they get too close to the border. Often their cellular signal changes to the United States, and so that could be something that could prevent people from live streaming or being able to send out more contact information. I did submit some regular requests for interviews today, but was not successful. But I kind of understand people are going through the thing.
Regardless, it doesn't matter. We're here, and we've got all this footage coming in, and everything is good. So,
and the events that are down there right now are still active. So, CTV is saying officers say they are working to restore the orderly flow of traffic in the safest manner possible. I don't think we'll be looking at an overnight occupation, but I do think that later in the evening they'll probably break it up and send everybody home, is what I would suspect to happen here.
Very difficult to say. I mean, I remember those blockades. We talked about this before. There were Truckers' blockades back in the early 1990s. and I covered those for CTV. And when the border crossings get shut down, it has a major, major impact on the economy, on people being able to get back and forth across that border. It's huge, and it doesn't take much to jam up that border. It takes a lot less to do that than it does to cause mayhem or problems in a larger metropolitan area, say. It only takes a handful of vehicles to block access and exit off a bridge like that. So I think the tunnel is still open and flowing okay. So,
yes.
but trucks are not supposed to be going through that tunnel.
Information I've seen is referring trucks to go around to the Blue Water Bridge in Sarnia, Ontario, and Port Huron, Michigan, and using the tunnel as well. But you would know more about that. I've never used that tunnel or even laid eyes on it before, so I don't.
Yeah,
really.
so the tunnel is not for truck traffic; it's for cars, and that bridge is very busy. And of course, there's the barge as well that they can take across, right? So trucks do have other options. So the border is not completely shut down, but all it takes is what we're seeing right there, and you've got huge backups, major headaches, major problems, and that does put pressure on government, because that puts pressure on factories, auto plants, industry, retail operations, grocery store chains. If the flow of goods across the border is curtailed, it throws a monkey wrench into a lot of things and costs those big corporations big money. And I'll guarantee you, phone calls get made to the politicians right away.
Big time. Big time. But yeah, it's going to be a matter of time to see where that goes. I know right now there's starting to get some interfighting in the Canadian Parliament, in the federal Parliament. Jagmeet Singh is even accusing at this point Justin Trudeau as being an actionless leader. He tweeted 9 hours ago, "I have requested an emergency debate in Parliament. The country is in crisis. PM Trudeau must show leadership and work on a plan to end Convoy blockade, save our healthcare system on the brink, and get Canadians through the end of this pandemic." I absolutely despise Jagmeet Singh. I think he is a bigot and a racist. And a vote for Jagmeet Singh is a vote for a welfare country. A country where you are not able to pursue life, liberty, and happiness, but a country where you will be taken care of by the government and you will have no option or say in it. You'll experience high taxation, and that if that government got in, we would definitely never, ever, ever see the restoration of our rights and freedoms ever again. But even he is seeing that Justin Trudeau is a leaderless hack. He has an opportunity here to bring a resolution on this, but he's simply not going to the table. He is gaslighting and name-calling or ignoring. I don't know which of those three things is the worst, but they're all pretty bad.
Well, this is more footage that we have from overnight, where police did seize a couple of pickup trucks and make some arrests. So I'm going to let this roll, and we can have a discussion about this.
Next level craziness here. Next level craziness. The police have gone too far. These are two volunteer farmers with empty slip tanks. Nothing in there. Empty slip tanks. I didn't get here soon enough, but they have been arrested, taken away in cuffs, and their trucks have been impounded, are now being towed by Ottawa Metro Towing. Two good, hardworking men, Canadians, farmers, have been arrested for the crime of having a slip tank on their truck. I'm told they've been arrested for aiding and abetting. The police have arrested volunteer farmers for the crime of having a slip tank on their pickup truck. They are now getting towed by OMT Towing. OMT Towing. Let's hope they never tow again. Here, OMT Towing is taking away trucks with empty slip tanks. Empty slip tanks. Farmers have been arrested, taken away in cuffs, and their trucks are now being towed for the crime of having a slip tank in the back of their truck. As you'll know, many farmers have slip tanks, and it's empty, folks. Empty. There's the evidence. This thing is totally empty. Empty slip tanks. These trucks, they're sneaking around the city, arresting people for having fuel. It is now a crime in the city of Ottawa to have a slip tank on your truck. Police are creeping around the city, going around in the cover of darkness and arresting people. No warrants, no nothing, because they have a pickup truck with a slip tank. This is what's going on, folks, in the city of Ottawa. Police are arresting farmers. This isn't going to play well. Thankfully, they will play right into the truckers' hands. This is not going to play well in the media with the public. People being arrested, no warrants, trucks being taken away at night. I'm here live streaming so people can see what's actually happening. We'll get this out to everyone. We'll send this around the world. Ottawa police are now arresting citizens for the crime of having pickup trucks with slip tanks. OMT Trucking has graciously accepted the responsibility of towing farmers for the crime of having empty slip tanks in their trucks. We got two guys. Who even knows? No one knows what they were going to do with those slip tanks. And as I pointed out earlier, there is no fuel in the slip tanks. They are fully empty. Trucks with empty slip tanks are being towed by OMT Trucking. They're taken away. Police have arrested these farmers. Hey, maybe they were in town just hanging out. Absolutely no proof. You cannot arrest people in this nation for being here with a slip tank. I'm not aware of that crime. Maybe there's some crime I don't know about. But OMT Trucking decided to help out the cops and taking away these trucks from two Canadian farmers who have been taken away by police for the crime of having empty slip tanks in their trucks. I'm just out for a walk. Yep, good. Yeah, no, I know you're doing your job and trying to respect that, but the world needs to see what's going on here, so I know. It is really unfortunate, and I'm not here to cause trouble. No, I'm sorry. I am upset, obviously, but I'm not in trouble. Yeah. Yeah, no, we all gotta be safe. I like you're doing what you're told, but like what you know the tanks are empty, right? Yeah, no, okay. Just I banged away on them. They're empty, so as best I can tell, they're being arrested for absolutely nothing. No, I totally get that. I respect that. This is good for everyone to see what's happening. So I didn't get here in time, but someone who was here who tipped me off let me know that they were taken away in handcuffs. Two farmers, two fathers, husbands, your fellow Canadians were arrested for having slip tanks in their trucks. I can't confirm that one was empty because it was up on the truck already, but I can confirm that this one was empty.
All three of them have been empty. one's been empty for 7 years, and that one has been empty for over a week. Both of them.
Yeah. So these two men have been arrested. Their trucks impounded for having trucks with empty slip tanks. Who knows what they were up to? They out for dinner. We don't know. But they've now been arrested, taken away by police. And I'm just in one spot here. Who knows what's going on in the rest of this city? They've come in force, doing it, sneaking around while most people are downtown, sneaking into parking lots and impounding and arresting individuals. Did anyone here watch it go down? Did you? Is this your truck?
No, I know both the trucks very well.
Yeah. Do you mind if I'm filming?
I don't know.
Yeah. Did you watch it go down?
Yeah. We literally came out. We pulled into here to sit. They followed us in, and then the drivers of these two, they even said my truck would have gotten seized too, but I don't have a slip tank in the back, or at least one that's visible.
So you're telling me they were arrested for simply having empty slip tanks in the back of pickup trucks?
That anybody with a slip tank or jerry cans, anything, is being arrested tonight. He admitted that.
With zero evidence, like they could have been out for dinner just hanging out. Yeah.
Literally, that's what we were all doing.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
three of us. These two trucks and my dually.
Out for dinner and hanging out, and their trucks have now been impounded, taken away in cuffs for the crime of having a slip tank. Like,
Which he's an operator. He has to fill it backhoe every day, and he's a farmer, so he has to fill his tractors every day.
yeah, no, it's most farmers have slip tanks on at least one of their trucks. So
Nothing against them, but
this cop has been reasonable, and
no, he's
Yeah.
been great. His partner, not so much, but he's been fantastic.
yeah, but yeah, man, whatever you can do, like, I hope this starts to bother your people too, because you know this isn't right, and
But those straps gotta get fixed, not further up.
I don't know what
I'm not an expert in car.
No.
I don't know what criminal code or where this is. The lawyers will have fun with this, though.
I know. I'm just saying. That's even. Yeah, you can put it.
But yeah, man, whatever you can do amongst your people.
It's just I know this guy, and as soon as he sees that it was done there's going to be a.
So those of you just tuning in, police are now going around the city and arresting people for having jerry cans, arresting them for having slip tanks. Doesn't matter if there's fuel. It doesn't matter what they were doing. Doesn't matter if they're involved in the trucker protests. They're being arrested now for the crime of having something to carry fuel. So now, in the city of Ottawa, the capital of our great nation, what was once a symbol of freedom to the world, working people are being arrested and their vehicles impounded for having empty slip tanks. That's where we're at, folks. This is ridiculous. This will not play well. They're shooting themselves in the foot here. Things were peaceful. We're cooperating well with police. Nothing but positive energy downtown, and this is where we're at now. So, but there you go. We'll get this out. We'll pass this along and get it on media channels, podcasters, YouTubers. We'll get Joe Rogan on this. We'll get Jordan Peterson on this. We'll tell the world, folks. I'll forward this on to a media contact of mine, and we'll make sure everyone knows what's going on down here.
Well, we picked it up anyway. I don't know if the rest of the world did, but we have that video for you. So, what do you think, Brenden?
This is not Canada anymore, man. I don't know what the hell that was. That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I've seen on social media, I don't know how much this is trending or not, but it looks like a lot of people are saying, well, everybody carry an empty jerry can in Ottawa and see what happens.
Yeah,
don't
I
know
saw
if
that. There's no way that's going to work.
No, I don't think there's enough jerry cans in the Ottawa Valley area to even fulfill that. I have no words for this. Like, this is what you call government overreach.
Yeah, well, as we saw, there was the response from the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, and the lawyers there have issued a statement saying that what police are doing, this kind of thing that we just witnessed through this video, that is actually, in their view, illegal. And I tend to agree. I don't think that police do have authority to go around, and I'm not a lawyer, so I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem appropriate for police to have the authority or the power to go around and just take and confiscate things without a warrant of any kind. To just go in and take things. I'm going to take that. Oh, I see you have a gas can in your truck. I'm going to take that. Oh, you know what? We're just going to confiscate your truck because
we suspect you are aiding and abetting the alt-right Nazi trucker group.
Right.
How dare you?
Yeah, we think that you might be trying to help out political opponents, Justin Trudeau's political opponents. So we'll just have to take your truck.
And I did see a video from JT the other day, and he had blamed everything that's happening on his political opponents from the last election, i.e., the People's Party of Canada and Maxime Bernier, which is a federal party, which in our federal election 6 months ago won not a single seat in the House of Commons, so nobody was elected whatsoever across the board. He blamed all of this on them and said all of this dissatisfaction and everything else is the fault of my political opponents. He didn't outright name the PPC, but you could easily read through the lines on that. And you could kind of see, you can kind of see how much bullshit that is. I think that this is way more popular, or this is much bigger than a political party at this point. Way bigger. This is connected people across political lines in a way that I have not seen in a span of 10 years. Maybe more.
So why should Canadians be concerned about this? Well, if police can exert this kind of pressure down there against these truckers, if the politicians can direct them to go down there and start confiscating private property, then it sets a precedent for them to be able to target you. Maybe down the road, you'll be the one with views that don't mesh with your government, or maybe you don't want to do something that the government wants you to do, and the government decides that you're a troublemaker for whatever reason, and they can then just, by decree, come to your home and confiscate your car, or confiscate your truck, or confiscate whatever's in your home. Because that's really what is going on there. They have no respect and don't acknowledge private property rights in this instance, and they're justifying it through these new decrees. And we've seen in Nova Scotia today that the government there has passed a decree from the premier saying that it is now illegal to donate or support the Freedom Convoy. You can't donate. You can't donate to it.
I missed that one entirely. Can we get a source look at that, or?
Sure, I'll find that.
Sorry about that. Or if you want, I can look one up. It's all good. But
I'll find it for you.
I think it's kind of important that, like, what the hell type of government overreach is that? Oh, you cannot donate to this. I mean, what's it going to be next? It's a slippery slope. The slippery slope.
Government of the Canadian province of Nova Scotia has issued a decree making it illegal to donate or participate in the Truckers' Freedom Convoy. They've declared a state of emergency, rendering it illegal to support in any way or participate in Canada's Freedom Convoy.
So they made a state of emergency over it?
So that's from that's a media report, okay? So let me see if I can find the they also banned gatherings along highways. That was on the 28th. Now I should frame all of that around the fact that this is a media report from the Westphalian Times. So I don't know how accurate it is, but we certainly know that they did outlaw the demonstrations on the sides of highways.
Yes, they did.
And we do know that the government has gone after that $10 million in GoFundMe revenue that was generated for the truckers. So we'll find more confirmation on that or try to for you, but these are the tactics that are being used. There's no question about that.
Yes. Jagmeet Singh on Twitter 2 hours ago put forward petitions to more or less shut down what he calls U.S. interference and foreign financing of the quote-unquote Freedom Convoy.
Right.
Whatever pull he has, I don't know. But he's saying kind of the same thing. He wants to shut it down entirely as well. At least it would probably be more than happy to. Yeah.
So I caution everyone, regardless of what we brought to your attention there, we need to confirm that that is actually what's happening in Nova Scotia with regard to the law prohibiting donations. But definitely the law prohibiting demonstrations on the sides of highways and over bridge overpasses, that remains in place.
I wonder if we should just ship the Premier of Nova Scotia out to Australia and he could become their new dictator.
Well, he has to get in line because I think there's competition for the job these days.
What's his political affiliation anyway? Tim Houston.
Conservative.
Oh, God.
Yeah, these kinds of measures, traditionally, you would not have expected to come from conservative politicians. That's what we've been getting. Honestly, it has surprised me, and it continues to surprise me. And that's why I don't know if we can trust any of them anymore, because it's really difficult to know what you're going to get. And there doesn't seem to be much, if any, difference between the Conservatives, the Liberals, and the New Democrats. They all seem to be on the same page these days.
Actually, except for the province of Ontario, typically what we've seen over the past 2 years is Conservative provinces lock down harder.
Yes, that's true. Well, yeah.
For the most part. Which is shocking, because the United States is like the complete opposite, where everybody's flooding to Republican red states, where there's more freedom, less mandates. People are running out of California so fast that you can't even get a U-Haul anymore. We have nothing like that here. It's kind of puzzling, actually. It's a question I've asked myself a lot over the past 2 years. Why is it that we're stuck with this, but the other places don't? And I think the answer to that is our socialized medicine programs. Because you use this system. God forbid you need to use the healthcare system, and then they shame you for clogging up the system. It's like, oh, if you get coronavirus, you are clogging up the healthcare system. And they do the same thing with just about everything. So they'll use it to make taxes, high amounts of taxes on things, and they'll say, oh, it's a sin tax because you're going to go into the hospital and clog it up.
Well, there is no such thing as a free lunch, right? And so if you're given free health care or free anything, really, there is a price to be paid for that. And one of the prices you pay for socialized health care provided by government is you give up your choice. You don't have an alternative healthcare system to go to. You only have the one that the government provides. And in fact, for most healthcare, private options have been outlawed. So you just don't have that option. And so when the government, in this case, is mandating things through the healthcare system, it becomes a very effective tool for them to do that, to take coercive action against the public. And that's where the phrase, the bigger the state, the smaller the citizen, comes into play. And you're giving up your freedom of choice when you're accepting all these free things from government. The conversation and it goes much deeper than that. And we could we could talk about something like that all night long. But that really is the reality of the situation.
And it's a stupid argument because by the same rules, I mean, if you play sports, you're more likely that you're going to be healthier in the long term. But in the short term, you break your leg, then you got to go to the hospital. Well, are they going to say you broke your leg, so therefore you're clogging up the healthcare system, and now we have to tax you to play for playing sports? Like, where is the line on it? Like, if somebody could tell me where is the line on them using this argument to say we need to tax you because you're using this system. Like, where does it stop? I know we've had animal rights groups in Ontario lobbying the province of Ontario like years ago. They probably still are for putting sin tax on Canadian beef and meat because red meat causes heart disease and that sort of stuff. Where's the line on it?
Well, look, I mean, here's another example, right? If you don't take the vaccine and you need an organ transplant in Ontario now, they won't give it to you. And because there's only one healthcare provider, there's only one system you can utilize to get an organ transplant in Ontario, you have no other option. So for them to say that that's a choice isn't really much of a choice, because they're quite willing to let you die unless you do what they tell you to do in order to get the operation that is going to save your life. So that's what happens when you have no options. Only one place to go. And they dictate to you. So maybe some people are comfortable with that. Me personally, I see the limitations of it. And I can see how government can use that as a coercive tool. And I may or may not be trying, says you guys are really overestimating how much people care. That might be true. I think that what we're seeing in Ottawa from local residents, and maybe even from the public in general, is a public mood that shifts a little bit with the wind, maybe a lot with the wind. And depending on how the media spins the narrative, it influences how people respond and how they feel about certain things. And so I am wondering at this point how much support there still is for this freedom convoy, because over time people do fatigue sets in, right? And they begin to become distracted. How long can the public remain engaged and focused on these things with demonstrations? And after 2 years of being locked down and unlocked down and relocked down, how much support do you think is still there, Brenden?
I think that the support is unwavering, and I still think it's spreading. People are going to get sick of this eventually, but But that's okay. It's like I said, we are in the Empire Strikes Back point of this game here. We still need some dismemberment. Something bad's going to happen. But the spirit of freedom is now in the Canadian people. It'll only be a matter of time. Let's see. Just a moment here.
Yeah, Larry says he can't believe they can make new laws by the minute after seeing what has happened the last 2 days. He can't believe Trudeau would ever show his face in Canada. And yes, I am also shocked at the way the charter has been, decommissioned, destroyed, the way that they just dismiss it, and the way that they just seem to make up new laws to achieve whatever it is they want to do. I'm pretty sure that the government, in many respects, has been acting in an unlawful manner. And that is really one of the reasons why the truckers are down there and their supporters. And it's not just truckers, it's farmers as well now coming to their support. So this whole, racist trucker thing, I don't know. It just keeps on spreading, as I've said before. Now you got a bunch, I guess they're all racist farmers too, and racist moms and dads, and racist families, racist Canadians.
We can't be assuming genders now, Rick Walker. That's extremely dangerous. I have another pack of lies that we need to dissect here. I put it in the screen share. So this is a statement from the Ontario Liberal Party, the leader of which is a Mr. Del Duca.
Mm-hmm.
So it says here, Ottawa. Ontario Liberals are calling on Doug Ford Conservative to send a clear and unequivocal message to the illegal occupiers of Ottawa. Leave now or risk losing your trucks. The residents of Ottawa are victims of a dangerous anti-vax mob holding their city hostage, stated the Ontario Liberal leader Stephen Del Duca. It has gone far beyond what can be considered a protest, and the occupation must be dealt with using strong action. In addition to declaring a provincial state of emergency, I am also calling today on the Provincial Attorney General to make clear that the Crown prosecutors will follow the guidance of their prosecution manual and seek forfeiture of any assets used in the commission of a serious or
indictable
hybrid offense.
Hybrid offense, yeah.
Ontario Liberals have previously called on the Premier to pass Ottawa South MPP John Fraser's Bill 2 to create a safe zones around hospitals and schools and force the organizers to reimburse the millions of dollars in extra policing costs incurred during the occupation by enacting Bill 68, which is already passed by the legislature. Leave now, or you will lose your truck, is the message our Premier should be sending, added Del Duca. Doug Ford needs to come out today and announce a strong provincial response to end this occupation swiftly. The occupation is in its 11th day, with Ottawa families exhausted and scared to leave their homes. It's time to free the people of Ottawa from the anti-vax mob holding them hostage. People are scared and angry and looking for leadership to end occupation, but they have been abandoned by a premier who only coddles anti-vaxxers. Whoa. That is the most inflammatory statement we have seen to date. Rick Walker, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's just like Larry said. They're making, this guy, the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party, Stephen Del Duca, wants to make up another new law. Now, he's just going to make up a law. If he was the premier, he would just make up a law and say, oh, if you're protesting down there and you don't get out, we're going to take your truck, Mr. Trucker. And that would, of course, destroy that person's life, because that's like taking someone's house, right? Those rigs are worth big money. They're financed. And if you take a trucker's truck, you take away his ability to earn a living. and you leave him in severe debt with no way to pay off that debt. So these liberals don't care who they destroy. They don't care if they hurt people, and they don't really seek to employ the rule of law. They just want to make up laws as they go along to do whatever they think will score them points in the court of public opinion, and to achieve their political goals. They want to create laws to target their political opponents because these truckers are down there targeting the federal liberal government and these liberal policies, these vaccine mandates. And they are definitely a political opponent to Justin Trudeau and the liberals. So these guys don't care. Let's make up a new law and we'll go after their trucks. Let's make up a new law. We'll confiscate their gas. So you see, it continues to escalate. And I don't see how this to this level would be constitutional.
This messaging is dangerous.
The language certainly is, yes.
It's dangerous. It is unconstitutional. It is un-Canadian. I have never seen language come out of any political party like this. Like, this is absolutely
well, it's the choice of words, right? So you've got a dangerous anti-vax mob. So on the one hand, you see them as freedom fighters. These guys, the liberals, Stephen Del Duca, he's trying to paint the truckers as a dangerous anti-vax mob. So
it's more than that. It's if you are blue collar, if you are working class, and you want bodily autonomy, that means you're dangerous. And that's what, if these guys are elected, like, God help us all. That'll be the saddest day in Canadian history. These are this Del Duca guy. He wants to implement the vaccine passport to stay in place forever. He wants to upgrade it so that you need your third shot to go to a restaurant, movie theater, venues galore. And then he also wants to extend it to liquor stores and grocery stores and that sort of thing. He claims that Doug Ford, the current Premier of Ontario, is not keeping the people safe enough. This guy is dangerous. Mark my words. Like, we are going to see the biggest shit-slinging election you've ever seen in your entire life. And it's going to be filled with this dangerous rhetoric here. This is going to divide people even more. This is not going to bring people together.
Well, this is in the province of Ontario. And, I mean, in Ontario, the progressive conservatives, right, with Doug Ford at the helm as the premier, it seems it's very unlikely he will be reelected. And the other conservative-leaning or oriented parties that have emerged are not strong at this point. So what does that mean? We're likely to see probably, if things hold the way they seem to be going, a Liberal or NDP government to replace the Conservatives in Ontario, and that will happen by this summer because the election is not far off. So what then? We end up with maybe this guy at the helm. And as bad as Doug Ford has been, I'm telling you, you want more lockdowns, you want more restrictions, I suspect that we'll see an even heavier hand from whoever replaces Doug Ford and the Conservatives, if that comes to pass. I don't see any of these new parties forming the government because the majority of Ontarians don't even know what those parties are. They've never heard of them. So there isn't enough time for them to gain enough traction, I don't think, to form a government if they even get anybody elected.
Not only that, Canada has a solid record of voting blue or red. Occasionally, yeah, NDP, right? So either they vote conservative, either they vote liberal or they vote New Democratic. So, I mean, just by those statistics alone, like a third party coming in and saving the day or giving out something different, and God knows the media is going to support these guys here like they have for every other election in the past years. You know that. I know that. Like,
and look at the words they're using. I mean, they call it an occupation instead of a protest. So again, it's very carefully crafted, and it's meant to smear, discredit, inflame, divide, and spread, honestly, hate.
And Doug Ford definitely does not coddle anti-vaxxers. Like
anti-vaxxers. Ooh, the evil anti-vaxxers. Oh, the filthy, dirty, evil, racist anti-trucker vaxxers. Anti-vaxxers. Oh, my. Yeah. You know what? The government has failed the people. Their measures to combat the virus have largely been, not largely, they've been ineffective. Look at the graphs. Look at the stats. They're the government's own statistics. Ask yourself, over 2 years, did it stop the virus? Did it? Did Canada fare any better than any other country? Really? Overlay the graphs. Adjust for population and other factors. And did Canada really do any better? No. And, you know, so the government has spent huge money over the past 2 years on free handouts for people, free handouts to big corporations and big companies. And have they increased hospital capacity at all? Have they done anything to improve the healthcare system that was inadequate to begin with as we went into this pandemic? Have they done anything to address any of those shortcomings? The answer is no. Ask yourself why.
And I'm not sure how many people know about this, but a considerable amount of people know about it. It just has not gained any traction in the mainstream media because it would involve them backtracking everything they've said for the past 2 years. But there was a Johns Hopkins study that came out and said that lockdowns only curbed COVID deaths by 0.2%.
0.2%. That's right.
0.2%.
Buddy. Yes.
0.2%.
0.2%.
That is an entire failure and write-off of everybody's lives for the past 2 years. Like Christmases, birthdays, and funerals. These are important life events.
And now because they're not getting the results that they're looking for overall, and even before, all through this, what have they been doing? Who are they blaming? Who are they using as a scapegoat? The unvaxxed. Oh, the filthy, unclean, unvaxxed. Scapegoating people, scapegoating a group, using them as a target, right? Demonizing, dehumanizing, giving the public in a way a license to target and abuse. So, yeah, Brenden, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted by the kind of language that I've heard from our prime minister, the words that have come out of his mouth, the way that he has divided the country. Worst prime minister ever.
And you know, Doug Ford might have said less about events going on in Ottawa than Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, but Justin Trudeau has still said pretty much very little, like not much more than Doug Ford. And he's like, oh, Doug Ford coddles anti-vaxxers. Like, them's fighting words right there. This next election is going to be something to see.
Well, you know, and so Stephen Del Duca wants to confiscate all the trucks and take them away from the truckers forever. So those guys can never go back to work. like I said, I think that it's the use of this language, the comparison of this to the January 6th incident in the U.S., words like that I've heard from municipal officials in Ottawa, where they're comparing this to now a nationwide insurrection that's spreading across Canada. It's that kind of language that I think they are going to try to use and bring that to bear to justify prosecutions under hate speech laws and hate crime laws against these truckers, and ramp this up so that they can put some of these guys away for much longer periods of time than you would normally see after arrests at protests.
In addition to that, what we're going to see with this here, this is a window into what we're going to see. So not only are we going to see aggressive media, like legacy media, siding with the Liberal Party, we're also going to see them using the same fear tactics that we saw in the last election. Like, and we might even see it tenfold. Like, look, coddle anti-vaxxers, like that. All that language in this here is the biggest piece of garbage I've ever seen. It is not even worthy of wiping my arse with it. Pardon my French, but it did aggravate me. Like, this scares the shit right out of me.
Well, we're getting on in time here tonight, and we haven't had as much video coming out of there, and that alone concerns me, because I think that what is likely to happen, and maybe it's even happening as we speak, is when police move in, and I think these mass arrests are coming, and when they make their big move, which could even come tonight, maybe it might even be underway now for all I know. We just don't know. They're going to shut down cell phone service, and that means no more videos coming out of there, no live video coming out of that area when this goes down. They don't want people. It's a military tactic to cut off communications to the enemy, which in this case is the truckers, and police are going to go in there and take a more aggressive position. They're going to arrest more people, and I think they'll shut down cell phone service. And that's maybe one of the reasons. I don't know. Go ahead, Brenden. You wanted to say something?
Well, I'll just add, like, when we had major revolts in Cuba not too long ago, that's exactly what we had seen, a total shutdown of communication.
Yes. So
I think at this point, though, we've covered quite a few things: the political landscape, the events of the yesterday and some of today, different parts of Canada. With that being said, I think it's a good time to sign off as any. My name is Brenden Kennedy. I am the host of The Flow of Discourse. And thank you for watching.
Yes, and I'm Rick Walker with Maverick News and Maverick Multimedia. And this is ongoing coverage of Freedom Convoy 2022 cruising to the Capitol. We will keep tabs on this overnight. We will have more to share with you tomorrow. Please join us again on our social media channels, and please like, share, subscribe. It helps us keep this thing going as we attempt to provide additional perspective that the mainstream media is not providing. And as I say, I was expecting more video out of there from some of our people tonight, and we do have some people heading back up to Ottawa for tomorrow, at least 2 people who will be on the ground, and we'll get you more live video, more perspective on the ground there tomorrow.
That's right, Carla's coming back.
Yeah, and I know John Nisbet is on his way up there as well again, so we'll see what kind of material they generate. But big developments likely to happen over the next 24 to 48 hours, so keep your eyes and ears open and buckle up, because the ride is going to get rocky. Thanks for watching. We'll catch everybody tomorrow.